and we're going to go with Scapa Flow on our right hand as we're going. So we're sort of going to take the road beside Scapa Flow. I'm sure you've maybe all heard the story of Scapa Flow, but as we go along, we'll hear some more. As we go out here, this big house here on the left, that one there is called the Lieutenant's House. Now, I don't know why that is, but that's just the name it's had ever since I can remember. Remember, we're actually in the sea now. When I was a little girl, this was all beach. And I was just looking at some old postcards yesterday, and I was delighted to see that it actually showed the shoreline. So I'm going to see if I can get it, you know, enlarged so we can actually have a picture of Stomness as it was. These roundabouts are not terribly old. It wasn't so long ago that we had no roundabouts in Orkney. Not one. And then they introduced the little mini ones, you know, the ones that buses go right over. Yeah, but cars have to go round. And then they built this one, and the final one we'll see today. The biggest one is in Kirkwall, but it's nothing like your roundabouts down south. It is really quite small. But to us Arcadians, it's big enough. When we go south and drive south, have I gone round a roundabout? I think I have. Maybe once or twice. But I'm telling you, I usually put up a big sticker saying, I'm say Orkney, you know. Cutting in their meat. And I thought my husband was going to be whipped out of the car and beaten up on the spot, you know. And I just looked across and I went, I'm sorry, we are free Orkney. It's the first thing I could affected. And this is the very, very busy time for the farmers when they're, you know, getting ready to put their cattle to the mart to be sold and shipped south, because a lot of our animals are fattened up here and then they go south for further fattening before they're going to the next process. So it's a worrying time for sheep farmers and the beef farmers. Not too many pigs. Maybe a few farms might have a few pigs for their own use, but there's no big pig farms, no. Not too many sheep actually, if you look around. It's mainly beef cattle. So there are sheep on the hills, and on the Hoy there's a lot of sheep. Right, we went round this well, we didn't go round this corner yesterday. I told you about this house here where the gentleman was killed, the first civilian casualty. The first civilian casualty in the Second World War. Well, actually, we were a very, very important harbour. Willie says they were lost. But actually, you know, on the old map, this field here on the right was marked as an airfield, because small light planes used to land here, obviously, before.
Show me Orkney.
So this is the field here on the right that these planes landed. So I think that the bomb was actually meant for the airfield, but it was just a field. Oh yes, in the wartime, the population here in Orkney doubled, trebled, quadrupled. It was about 80,000. It went from 20,000 to 80,000. Troops, there were troops on the island, but a lot of the troops were had to stay on ships in Scapa Flow, because they were worried about there being too many people and soldiers on the island. The girls loved it, of course, you know. Quite a lot of our Cajun ladies married people from South, as we'd say, and they live in the south of England, and that's all because of the war. We always laugh and say every now and again we need this to bring new blood into the island, or to carry away our women. But then it happened down south too. A lot of Americans came over, and a lot of young ladies went over to America. This is Stennis here, and on the right hand side you can see Scapa Flow, and over the water there you can see the island of Gramsay with the lighthouse, and beyond that is the big island of Hoy. Now Hoy means high island. Hoy comes from the Norse word meaning high. And you've got the highest hill there, the Ward Hill. I can tell you that this is the most beautiful view from the top of that hill. I heard a wonderful story about, I think it was at a Jubilee or something. They went and took a whole lot of wood to the top of that hill, because of course that hill was also, you know, in the old days when they didn't have radio or communications, what they used to do was light big fires on the top of these hills to warn of invasion. You know, if there was something bad happening, they would light fires on the top of these hills. And that's why they're called Ward Hills. And you'll find Ward Hills all along the line, you know, where messages were passed. But this was a celebration, and the women were the ones to carry barrels of pitch up, and you know, for this big fire. And they put a big pole up, and they put old tractor tires and tires round it, and had this wonderful fire. But what they didn't realise, that the pole would burn through, and all these tires started to career down the hill. Fire. Blazing. That's our Ward Hill. Hoy is a lovely island. If you ever come back and you have time, do go and visit there. If you can get the ferry. The Hall of Cleston was one of the places that they were wanting to win. We came nowhere near winning, but we're still raising funds because we want to turn that into a boat museum, and also we'll restore the house and make it a nice house again, because it's just slightly different from Scale House. Now Scapa Flow is a nice deep anchorage. It's 120 square miles. That is a huge, huge area of water. And it's protected by the island. It's surrounded by islands. Now, in the First World War, Scapa Flow was very important, because at the end of the war, when the German fleet was captured, they sailed up here to Scapa Flow. And they had to be interred here before being divided between Russia, the USA and the UK. Now of course the Germans did not want that to happen. And in midsummer in 1919 the order went out to scuttle the fleet. And that's what they did. The sailors all dressed up in their best uniforms, and they came up on deck, and the engineers went down below, and on a given order they all started to open up the sea locks and the portholes, anything that would let the water in, and the fleet started to sink. Now 1919, it's midsummer, the longest day, and as far as I could see, we would see boats. was 74 boats or ships, battleships, cruisers out there in the harbour where you ships remaining there. The rest were all raised in the 20s. But there's 7 ships still down there at the bottom, and these little boats out there are most likely above these ships, because divers go out every day to dive on the remains of the German fleet. So what we're seeing there is the dive boats. So if you can imagine looking out here, you would see all these ships. Now we're just going to listen to a lady who's now dead, but she spoke and she was on that little ship. So if it works, we'll hear her speaking about that day. Okay. That now, Malcolm McRae was brought up in this house here on our left, Brindley House. This now belongs to his elder brother, and it's a beautiful house, and it's 100 years old this year. It was built as a wedding present to a lady who was in Edinburgh. She was an Orkneyan, and her new husband, because she had been married before, and she was in her 50s, and her new husband said, "What would you like as a wedding gift?" And she said, "I'd like a house in Orkney." So he built her that house, and they retired here. Right, we're going to visit now the Orkney Ingasaga Centre. Now this is a site where in the times of the Vikings, in the sort of 11th century, there was a big drinking hall here. And after the Crusades, they actually built a round church. We'll see the remains of that as well. And they built it on the sepulchre in Jerusalem on the same design, because the Vikings were great travellers. Now if we're lucky, there'll be a film for us to see, but if there's not, then we'll read it and I'll tell you what it's all. The same descendants for the Queen. So they're all the royalty, because it all came from Norway, and you know how the royals marry into the royals. And you can look there and you can see from way back the first earls that they married into the line of England, and it goes right down to our Queen there. We'll be thinking today about Magnus, because Magnus, we'll be going to St. Magnus Cathedral. And Magnus, and one of the greatest earls in Orkney was Thorfinn the Mighty. And he had 2 sons, Paul and Erlend, and they ruled together after their father. Thorfinn was the strongest. You know, he ruled on his own, but then his 2 sons ruled as joint earls. But they were not, they were friendly, and there was peace. They both died together when they had to go to fight in Scotland with their king from Norway. So when they died, their sons were Magnus, who was Erlend's son, so he was Magnus, Erlend's son, and Hakon, who was Paul's son. So Hakon, Paul's son, and Erlend, Erlend's son. Magnus, Erlend's son. And they had the big arguments, because Hakon didn't want to rule jointly with Magnus, and that led to the death of Magnus, and that led to the building of the cathedral years later by his nephew Ronald. So we'll be hearing all that. Now I think we could maybe creep in and see what's been said, and then we can maybe, I think that's maybe coming.
Yes, good one, get you up. You want to touch your stuff? Mouse? Yeah, let people go. Take it, go ahead. That's what we're trying to do. Come on, put your fingers there. Oh, Lily, please on you. Oh, no. Come on, let's go to see the church now. Come on, now go and see the church. Oh, we just saw the film. Смотрели сейчас фильм про эту сагу. Как тут эти... В общем, с 12 века тут начинается эта сага. Конечно, тут это самое... Все это из Норвегии. Из Норвегии до Исландии корни. То есть, да, не стоит. Вот интересно, что вот этот экскурсовод наш, Ингрин, ну Инга, что у них тут с Инга? Я теперь понимаю, откуда пошло это имя Инга. Ингебора есть в Прибалтике такое имя, тоже часть Инга. Это как раз идет из Прибалтики. А она все время делает акцент на том, что она не шотландского происхождения, тем более не английского, вот именно норвежского. Из Скандинавии. Как я говорила, у нее очень голубые глаза, действительно, они такие. Вот и сейчас там церковь, где тут происходили все эти страсти-мордасти. Да, и вот что интересно. Вот там, где мы живем вообще в Англии, викинги считаются злодеями, которые пришли, там это самое, все разрушили, христианство, там это самое, все вот эти вот их короли местные, англосакские, они были вроде как викинги, их мучили. А здесь как раз совсем наоборот. Наоборот, то есть викинги вроде как хорошие. Они тут много что сделали для острова. Магнус синий. Это не надо Магнус. Это сестры. Лили Дохова. Мы посмотрим эти руины церкви. Круглые, кстати, башни были церкви. Здесь есть одна уцелевшая с круглой башней. Ее я на нем не поедем. Далеко. Вот это самый знаменитый. Лили.
Wet summer, when you've all been suffering down south with floods and torrential rain. We had very little rain. In fact, in June, our water butt up in the garden ran dry. There was just no rain at all. But what we have had this year, which is very unusual, is the cold. You know, the temperature has never got beyond 15, 16 was a hot day, you know, and that's very unusual. Sometimes it's normally about 18 degrees, you know, up to 18 degrees, between 16 and 18, and on a hot day we'd be talking 20, 21, 22. Yeah, and then we all stop working and have a holiday. Here we have the village of Orkney, and new buildings going on here too. And here on the left is the Orkney Community School. There's a nursery here and 2 schoolrooms. And remember the tennis school that we saw? Well, they share a headmaster. So the headmaster is 2.5 days here in Orkney and 2.5 days in tennis. And then they have a senior teacher who looks after it, you know, at other times. Up in the island of North Romsey, they have 1 teacher and they have 4 pupils. But the teacher has to have teacher relief, the head teacher. So she actually gets a day and a half, or is it 2.5 days, when there's another teacher comes to teach 4 children. Yeah, and then there's actually more adults in the school than there's children. Between cooks and the janitor and the head teacher and the relief teacher,
По крайней мере, у
And
них
then
здесь нет
there's
этих проблем, которые в нашей
and then a
школе.
learning sport, and, you know, and all for 4 children. They're always encouraging new families, especially if they have children. The only problem comes when your child reaches primary 7, then they have to go to the mainland and stay in the hostel and just return home each weekend. So the high school has to be on the mainland.
Ну ничего, не так уж и плохо.
The island of Gravesey had 2 pupils on it and a head teacher, and they decided to close the school, and it took the 2 children daily over to Stromness on the boat. And it gives employment to one man. He goes across in the morning, picks them up, and then takes them to school, and then in the evening he picks them up from the school. Bay, and it was into that bay that the Caithness Earls sailed to make battle with the Orcadian. Now the Earl then was Earl Sinclair here on the Isles, and the Earl Sinclair where the 85 force. He came into the bay there with his ships, and he decided he was going to be clever. Instead of turning as he came up here and going along the road we're going to go, he decided to march through the hills here to the left. And he thought by doing that he would manage to get to Kirkwall without confrontation. Unfortunately for him, they were waiting for him in the hills as well. And the last battle fought on Orkney soil was that battle. Battle of Summerhill. So the Caithness Earl had asked a wise woman. He said, what can I do with this U-boat through there, and the Royal Oak which is lying around here, will show you the exact buoy where she lies. Gunterpreen came up, he let off 2 torpedoes, and the Royal Oak went down so fast that 833 men were lost that night. Now, the Largs and the North Cape was defeated. That was the Battle of Largs.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
He came back here to Scapa, and he only had a few ships left. He was a beaten man. He was elderly, he was in his late 50s, 60s, and he was carried from here to the Bishop's Palace there in Kirkwall. He lay there, and as he lay there, he had a teller of tales telling the whole of Orkney Inga saga, because that was the story of his family, and he died there in the Bishop's Palace. He was laid to rest in the cathedral over the winter, and in the spring his body was taken back to Norway. This is also one of self-sufficient in milk at the moment, but I think it's too long. The supermarkets still have it very cheap. I think things are going to change in the future because the farmers are starting to say it's just not worth their while to produce milk if it's sold so cheap.
What are you doing?
Their profit margin is getting cut all the time.
Don't drop it, Nick.
Horses. Here's another horse on the left-hand side. Horses are very popular now. All the young girls have to have a horse. We have a wonderful indoor arena for their horse gymkhanas. And I was just in Kirkwall here the other day and went into a shop that I'd never seen before in my life, and it was full of horse things. Incredible. Would you believe they had a rocking horse there that would cost £4,500? That's nearly as much as my house cost many years ago. Catholic church here. It's just had a new roof on the right-hand side. That's the only Catholic church we have on the island. Roadworks. But I actually think this junction needs a traffic light. Do you, Willie? Because it really is such a busy one, and if you're trying to get onto it, sometimes it's impossible.
Kirkwall, столица. Побольше, чем.
This is called Junction Road, and it is all infill, because at the time of the Vikings this was the sea. The sea came right up to the cathedral, so this is all reclaimed land. Look to the left here and you'll see our brand new library. It's a wonderful library, just to browse, to look at books. There's computers there that you can check your emails for nothing. So it's quite a nice place just to spend a short time. Yeah. Oh, and here on the left is, again, it's a new bus station that should be opening in November. On the left, there used to be a big castle here, but it was totally destroyed in the time, well, at the end of the Stuart reign, in the early 1600s. It was totally destroyed because they had the earls' men and the bishop's men, and there was a big battle here, and you might see dents in the cathedral wall, and that would be from cannonballs shot by the earls' men in the castle. It was Patrick's son that actually led a rebellion. He was wanting to free his father, who was imprisoned in Edinburgh. Right, okay, we're going to get it. The front of the cathedral was actually built, and then there was a gap, and the rest of the cathedral was built in there. So at one time, after 200 years, you see this magnificent.
Здесь такая ветка. You want to join kids, yes, darling? You want to join children? Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Are you shy? You want to go to see children? Are you better there? Oh, darling. You're not on my leg.
Here, you'll see what I was talking about. These pillars at one time were the outside pillars. Remember I said that the side was there, and this was the blue side on, right? And you can see that the pillar, the foundation, well, because it's on the shore, it's on the beach. And see how it's slightly leaning? See? It's slightly leaning there. Now, if you look at the windows there, they're rounded. So if the windows here are motif, showing the two different stages, the Romanesque, and then we've got the later period here. So you've got the Norman heavy arches and round windows, and then the more modern ones here, which are finer. As you look round, you see that actually this is the most fantastic place for old graves. You know, because they've never been weathered. They've been in here the whole time. You know, most of these old graves are outside and they've been here for hundreds of years and they get worn away. You'll see as we go round this beautiful example of old graves. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? You know, all the writing, the skull and crossbones there. A reminder that time is passing, where we end up being shoveled down. And if you look here, you'll see what it says, here rests the corpse of Robert, written of Linklater, a merchant in a borough of Kirkwall. So he was obviously a shopkeeper here. This cathedral was built by stonemasons that came up from Durham. So actually there's quite a lot of Durham marks. So as you look, have a look at the pillars. Some good examples of masons' marks. Here, you know, it's the masons who worked on a pillar. You couldn't understand what it was. You think it was a pirate? Yes, I thought because I wasn't stuck at the green, isn't it? Oh yeah, there you have a wonderful example of a mason's mark there. This is called a mort board. A mort board, a death board. It's just another way of having a gravestone, you know? And what it says on that is live a good life because you'll suffer for it in the next life if you don't. So that's what it's saying there. Look at the clock. All symbols of time passing. Beautiful chevron designs there.
Далее, ну, ну, стоп, just cool.
Faces, yes, the one's got his hand up. Now you can see that the pillars here are changing from being the round, older pillars. They put these bigger pillars so that they could go higher and make a big tower. See? So these pillars came later so that they could push up there and make the tower higher. Because at one time, in the first sort of 100 years, we had the St. Magnus Festival. Have you ever heard of that? And there's lots of performances here. I was taking a group round here during it, and they were, you know, as we went round, they were doing the practices. So with music. But this is the old market cross here. The old market cross that was taken away and put in here for safety, and they've got a replica market cross there in the town. But that is the original there. Get hung, went up together and then one came down.
Его викинги, кстати, как великолепно. Из апостолов поставили викингов с рогами. Да, это нечто. И, конечно, вот там у них был мапа. Равно, что-то равно, равно.
Then we were repairing the cathedral. museum, and in it was the head of bones, and the head had been cleaved in two.
Вообще вышита. Или нет, это у него даже не рога, как у викинга, крылья на голове. Кто это такой? Может, тут магницы есть? Вообще никак нет.
Doesn't matter how
Saint Ola. Ola. Saint Ola. That's my name. Charlie, behave yourself, baby. Baby, I don't hear anything. Just behave yourself, darling. Послушай.
part of the cathedral was much as it is today. But Stanley Cussiter, who was the painter, the keen painter, who was a native of Orkney, he had a great interest in cathedrals. He actually was a boy and respected in the cathedral who was allowed to do that. And if you go into the town hall, opposite here in the stage, they were lucky. I think it's going to be shut in September, but so I'm not, they're saying that it's still there, it's open now, admission free, and you'll see a lot of Stanley Custer's sketches of the cathedral at that time. Now, he was instrumental, and you'll see the whole story over there in the exhibition, in getting this little chapel made in memory of Magnus. And he got this wonderful carver to come and carve these figures. Now he drew the plans and carved these figures. Now we've got the three main people in the story. We've got Ronald, who built the cathedral, in memory of his uncle Magnus. And we've got Cole, his father. Now Cole was a Norwegian, a landlord in Norway, and a relative. And Ronald's mother was the sister of Magnus. So she went over to Norway and married Cole. Her son is Ronald. Now Ronald came over, and can you remember who the Earl was in Orkney then? Paul, who had been survived after not putting on the poison shell. Okay? So Paul was the Earl. Ronald came over to claim his part of Orkney on behalf of his mother and on behalf of his uncle Magnus. He was defeated first of all, so he said that if he managed the earldom, he would build a cathedral in memory of his uncle, who was starting, very wonderful things were happening around Magnus's grave, and he was being turned into a saint. So Ronald, he did defeat Paul, because Paul got captured, remember, kidnapped by his friend Spain, and he got taken down to Scotland, and he never was seen again. So Ronald became the sole Earl here in Orkney, and he started the building of the cathedral. Now, the story of Magnus, does anyone know the story of Magnus? Where his cousins, first cousin, Magnus was Magnus Erlendsson, and Hakon was Hakon Paulsson. Their fathers were Paul and Erlend. Now Magnus was a man of peace. He didn't like to fight, and he was an excellent Earl. When he was a young boy, the King of Norway came over and took an army to go down to Scotland, and he took Hakon and Magnus with him. And Magnus refused to fight,
he sat at the front of the boat singing psalms. And of course his uncle, the King of Norway, his relation, said he was a coward. But you're not a coward if you're sitting there, are you? You know, if he'd been down below singing psalms, yes, he was there in the thick of the battle, but he wouldn't fight. Now the king was furious because he couldn't have that happen. So he was going to kill Magnus, but Magnus managed to get off the ship and he managed to hide. And from there he went to his kinsman down in Scotland. We stayed there until the Norwegian king died, and then he came back to Orkney. He ruled with his cousin Haakon for 5 years. Haakon didn't want to share power. He wanted to have all the power. So Haakon, they met and they made a peace. And they decided to cement this peace on the island of Eggleston. And they agreed that each would take 2 ships and it would be like signing a peace treaty between them. They would share the land. Now Magnus's mother had prepared a feast so that after they came back, they would come and eat with her. Well, it was at the time of Easter. It was just about Easter of that year, in 1117. And Magnus went with his 2 ships and his friends to Eggleston. But Haakon had he didn't want to have peace. So he came with 8 ships. Now when Magnus was crossing to Eggleston, a huge wave rose up and soaked them. And Magnus said, I think I'm going to die. And his friend said, well, turn back. No, he said, if it's God's will that I die, I die. He got to Eggleston, spent the whole night praying in the church, and in the morning, Haakon's men were on the island, and they went and hid. But the men started to look, and Magnus got them and said, here I am. So he was captured. Now, Magnus said to his cousin, I don't want you to have my blood on your hands. Don't kill me. Send me off the pilgrimage. I'll take my men, go on the road, and we'll stay away. And you can beat the early morning. And Haakon's men said, no way. Because they knew he would just get a big force from Scotland and come back. So Magnus said, right, your second choice. He says, put me to Scotland. Put me to a castle. Put guards on me.
Oh. I'm that busy.
The third one, he said,
Let me
well,
see.
take out my eyes,
Let me
take off
see.
my hands, but
Let
don't
me
kill me,
see.
don't have that on
Me.
And
Me. I can't see myself. I can't see myself. It's me. At the door.
Very good at slaughtering animals, And he cried and he said, I don't want to do it. Nobody wanted to actually kill Magnus. And Magnus said to him, do it. And you will get my costume. You will get my clothes. Because what you do is a good thing. He said, just make sure you don't behead me. You kill me straight down in the middle of the head. Just right down the north way. So the poor cook had to do that. You can see the pictures there. There he is, hacking right at his head into, into the skull. And so then there was one Earl in Orkney. One Earl in Orkney. And he went to the feast that Magnus's mother had made, because this wasn't done, And she said to him, she made a beautiful feast. because Hacken was not going to allow Magnus to be buried in the church. He didn't want Magnus to be made an icon, and he was just going to have his body put somewhere. But Magnus' mother said him well, and then she cried. She said, "You're like a son to me. Please let me have the body of my son." And Hacken said yes. And his mother had his body taken to Bursey, where remember where we were? And where Earl Thornton lay, his grandfather, Earl Thornton Mighty. And Magnus was buried there in Bursey. But then all sorts of wonderful tales of the Orkney and Gasaki you could read, all the miracles that happened. And then of course Ronald came along, and Magnus was then taken here to St Magnus Cathedral. So we see here Bishop William of Orkney, Bishop Old, he was the bishop at the time. He was instrumental in a lot of the building. We have Ronald in the middle, holding the cathedral, and we have his father Paul, who was a great builder as well. So the story here, do have a look at the poets, Stanley Custer, George Mackay Brown, Hugh Marwick, Eric Linklater, John Mooney. All these people are famous historians and writers and poets that born and brought up and lived in Orkney.
Mommy, hold my hand.
Yes, darling, I will. I'd like to see this picture. Look. Hold on. No, сбивает его. Бедный Магнус.
Mommy, hold my hand.
Yes, darling, this святой Магнус. И несчастный этот вот тут сбивает. Чуть какая-то фейм. Такие. Жертву принес.
Hold my hand.
Да он Лили ничего не
Hold
видит.
my hand. Hold my Mommy, hold my hand.
It was a prison, and it was a courthouse.
Mommy.
It belongs to people of Orkney. You know, it was a prison and a courthouse. And the courthouse actually went up there. And when you were condemned, there was a chute system that took you right down into this dungeon. You know what a dungeon here? It's called the Marwick Hole. Don't ask me why it's called the Marwick Hole. Actually, if you look from outside, you'll see that they're built like in another chamber. And then they took the window out and used it as a hole. So they'd take a ladder and then they would go up there and they'd drop food down and, whatever. So it's a bit useful. Feather a horse in a cathedral. His men came up here and he used the cathedral as a billet, and his horses were tethered here. Now we're lucky that he didn't destroy it, but he couldn't destroy it because it didn't belong to the church. It belonged to the people of Orkney. So instead he used it as a stable. So that's why we've got in this pillar and in that pillar over there, we have the tethering iron, or whatever you call it. Sort of the family name. But they're still descendants of the past name. I mean, I know, how much my family. That's their Minister Kirkwall with some of her children. That was the minister's wife. I don't think that's a picture of her. The grandchildren. Right. So, you're now free to wander around and look more deeply into the cathedral. Maybe persuade some.
I can play. You want to play with me? Yes. Oh, darling. Poor Lily Julie. Let's go here, Magnus Cathedral. It doesn't really disable us. Ну, darling, ну how can we go home, baby? Let's go outside, see what's up. Не знаю, мне Cathedral не очень интересно. Мне больше интересно тут старый замок. Пойдем. Palace Road. Вот еще вот Castle. А? Окей, пойдем, моя хорошая. Мы will find something else here for you. Пойдем, моя девочка. Ну, здесь вот. You want playground? You know where it is? Shall we try to find playground? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to try to find one. But I can't take you there till I know where it is. Playground is not here? Okay, where else can be playground? Can we go have a look then? Huh? This cathedral? Further down. Yeah. Shall I try this one, you know? It seems to me it could be here, somewhere. Further down. Come on and try. Oh, yeah, it must be here. I can see a little girl there. Maybe it's there? Give me a hand, please. Give me a hand in this castle. It could be in this castle. Oh, look at this. People there. Oh, Lily, give me a hand, for God's sake. Let's go this way. Bishop and Earl Palaces. Это дворец. Bishop and Earl Palaces. Yes, darling. Brew House. Bishop and Earl Palaces don't use to. Yes. Earl Palaces is the finest Renaissance building in the Northern Islands and one of the most significant in Scotland. It was built about 1606 by Patrick Stewart, grandson of John Steve. He succeeded his father Robert III as the Lord Shetland in 62 years. Playground is not here, princess. No. You want ice cream instead? I'll see what I can do. Just let me do this picture. Service and palace. Здесь нет туалета, это безобразие. Это можем пройти. Там люди внутри этого дворца, но я не хочу идти вовнутрь, но я устала. Oh, good. Пойдем еще посмотрим на playground. Do you want to go on playground to what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going. Oh, look, здесь сейчас руины этого дворца. Сейчас я здесь сниму, we'll go on playground. Oh, actually, I have some good bed. Darling, we're going playground. Yeah, give me a chance, we're going. Here's a playground. It's wonderful. Ну ладно, я проблем. Ну ладно. Так вот на этот дворец. И совсем мне не хочется за него платить. Вон, here's playground. This way. No? Come on. Lily, disaster. Lily, wow. Oh, Lily can help herself. She doesn't even need my help. There's another kid. Why don't you play with them? Are you shy? Lil? You're not shy. Come on, go play with little girls and show her dolly. See? She probably won't go with you. gosh, you want motorbike? You want it here? I can put it here with Lily. You want it here? Lily. Ask girl's name. Say, what's your name? Hmm? What's your name? Hmm? Hold on tight, Lily, hold on tight. Wow! Lovely, Lily. Lovely. Значит, Kirkwall. Вот мы еще встретили там маму с двумя детьми, живут здесь на Оркнey, они из Глазго приехали, потому что ее муж учитель. Они говорят, что они очень хотят, чтобы люди сюда приезжали, в общем-то, у них здесь свое это комьюнити, очень дружно у них здесь все. Действительно, стоит вот так приехать сюда жить. Нет всей этой суеты, люди такие спокойные. Мне не нравится, что здесь деревьев нет на этом острове, это мне не нравится. Но именно из-за этого здесь сохранилось такое большое количество вот этих вот доисторических сооружений. Как они говорят... What? Shut up! What do you want?
I want out.
You want out now? Вот. Она из Глазго, кстати, тоже. Ни разу я не видела тут каких-то пьяниц, но здесь вот людей ничего. Живут на этих островах всего 2000 человек. Или сколько там? Нет, или 20 тысяч, не помню. На всех островах вместе взятых, кажется. 2000 на этом Оркнey. Но все равно мне больше нравится Селиан, конечно. Там и потеплее. Но здесь тоже вон водичку я снимала. Ну, какая чистая водичка. Холодно, конечно, здесь. Как они говорят, у них температура 20... Bye! Say bye to little girl. Как они говорят, здесь у них 20-21 градус, это жара. Все бросают работу и идут купаться. Лили моя красавица пользует. Ну, сейчас тоже не холодно. Она даже Лили сняла этот с нее костюмчик. Что, моя красавица?
I'm not good that way.
You're not good on this way. You're good. You're very good. Especially when I take your coat off. It's much easier to climb. Look at this little house. Well, not slide. You like slides? That's what you want, is go on playground. Oh, look at these binoculars. Can you see me? Look at me. Look through them. What can you see? Can you see mommy? Lily girly. Can you see yourself? Look. Look, show me a picture of you. You Orkney, Lily? Or Lily Dolly? Sure. I think it's for climbing. Hello, Lily. Вот мы тут смотрим Сент-Магнус Story. Фильм. Окей. I haven't got more milk, darling. Milk gone. Nice. I give you a biscuit now.
It is the 9th century. Far from being remote, the islands which make up Orkney are at the heart of the main trading routes linking Norway and Denmark to Scotland and Ireland. The seas were the motorways of their lane. The people of Orkney were already used to invaders during their long history. The Orkneymen built stone circles like the ring of Rock and 2 Maze Harbour. In the 9th century, the peaceful Pictish settlers were fearful when they saw the Viking longships on the horizon. The Orkney farmers and their families had reason to be afraid. The Vikings were renowned as fearsome warriors, but they had come seeking not just plunder. They wanted land in which to settle and make a new life for themselves. The fertile fields of Orkney suited them perfectly. So Orkney became a Viking settlement. The Vikings brought with them everything from jewelry to swords and axes to new ways of... Magnus is believed to have been educated at a monastery on the Broad first, and he seems to have been drawn to the contemplative life. One of the earliest stories we know about him concerns an expedition made by the King of Norway to the Hebrides and then on to Anglesey in Wales. Magnus refused the king's order to fight. Here is how the Orkney saga, the ancient Icelandic history, tells the tale.
When the king asked why he was sitting down and not seeing to his weapons, Magnus replied that he had no quarrel with anyone there. So I'm not going to fight, he said. Then take up your weapons for your own protection, said the king. God will shield me, answered Magnus. I shall not be killed if he wishes me to live, but I'd rather die than fight an unjust battle. Magnus took out the psalter and chanted psalms throughout the battle, and though he refused to take cover, he wasn't wounded.
There was tension between Hagen and Magnus over the best way to rule. Immediately after Easter in the year 1117, it was decided to hold a peace conference on the island of Anglesey. It was agreed that each earl should bring only 2 ships and an equal number of men. Magnus got to Anglesey first. When he saw 8 warships on the horizon, he knew that he was facing execution. Hagen chose Little, his cook, to do the evil deed. Little began to weep out loud. Earl Magnus took off his tunic, gave it to Little, and threw himself on the ground. He offered himself as a sacrifice to God, and he prayed not only for himself, but for his killers, forgiving them for their crimes against him. Then he confessed his own sins, and prayed that in God's hands his own soul might be washed clean by the spilling of his blood, and that God would send his angels to meet him and bear him to heavenly paradise.
As he was being led to his execution, he spoke to Little.
Значит, сегодня у нас 13-е. Мы едем сейчас ближе к востоку. Вот мы сейчас в этой церкви. Это сага. У нас вот это вот северная сага. Lily, look at me. Yeah? No, stay a little bit here, Lily. Я не буду это пересказывать историю. Церковь 17 века напрямую связана с этой сагой. Okay, stay like this, darling. Lovely. Сейчас. Популярно сегодня. Не сегодня, а вообще все это путешествие. Особенно бабушки очень любят. Лили. What's your dolly name, Lily? Tell that lady. Huh? Orkney. Orkney Lily. Very much was name Lily. Very much. We call Lily Orkney Lily. Come on, go ahead. You have to push it, push it. Yes, yes, and go inside. Inside, Lily. Push another one, push, push. Oh, darling. Oh, okay, no, stay away. Now Mama going. Oh, darling, Mama. Так, вот тут тоже район. Уф, drinking hole, which is 1136, was a single the mode of Sven Bresford. According to the other references in the Orkney saga, Earl Harald died at Orfeo in 1127, and the Boo or Hall subsequently belonged to the Earl Paul II. And Earl Роган Валдемар, это Владимир от него пошел. Earl Harald Motherson was said to be in hiding in the Boo of Orphan in 1150. Now come on, Lily. Everyone gone. Oh, Lily, come on. Bus going without us.
This, and then you get meals, and he has so many children, and then they have this, and so it goes on. Because we know everybody.
Sit down.
Right.
What is this? It's not even mine.
So this
Мы приехали в Kirkwall. Кафедра, замок. Люди было. Потом еще мы тут снимаем. Куда они, интересно, все идут? Нет. Так, да. Так, вот это вот. Опять я дублирую. The famous Renaissance building in the North Earl's Palace in Kirkwall. Построенный в 1606 году. Come on, Lily, we'll ask what is here. Так, вот дублирую съемку. Мы in Kirkwall, на детской площадке. Лили замучила. Playground, playground, playground. Ну давай, иди на твой playground. Так, вот вид этого дворца 17 века. Вон там этот кафедрал, собор. Вон там еще какое-то старое здание. А вон ли моя Лили пользует. Do it. Come on, climb up. Why? Okay, go to the slide then. Oh, where I want to go? On the swings. You want to go on swings again? Come on. Flying girl, where are you flying, Lily? Oh, види собора. Ну-ка. Look at me, Lily. Try to make nice picture. Lily! Lily flying in the cathedral. Ah. Lovely girl, Lily. 17. Lily, такая. No more. Swing. Lily swings. Ooh. Ah, Lily. Lovely. А Лиля такая. А Лиля девочка плохая. Она хорошая девочка. Лили. А, Мо? Мы едем по этому Чочел-Бария. Это мост между Уэйнландом и маленьким островочком, где итальянцы, признанцев Мо, которые были затащены немцами во время Второй мировой войны, построили чапел.
She didn't make it because she was halfway across the barrier and a huge wave came over and came crashing right through her windscreen. And she was just left with sand and water at her feet. So she stopped and she was afraid to move again. But luckily a lorry was coming and he came along and he picked her up. And after that they said, no, we're going to shut the barriers. There's a little railway line here that was used for carrying the blocks, and it's the only bit of railway that we actually have in Orkney. You can't actually see it because over time it's got covered up. But they had a little railway that ran across the island there. Oh, this is a wave wall. Look at it. See it on the left-hand side there? That's to stop the wave. Doesn't always work. You can see the block ships there. On the left, you know that cook, what's his name, Floyd, what's his first name? He came and cooked a meal on one of these. Yeah, that was about 10, 15 years ago. He drank a lot of wine as well. I think he drank more wine than he cooked, actually. Now, with the building of the barriers, the sand has built up, you know. The sand used to go through where the barriers are. Now the sand is gradually building up on this side. And old people say, oh, men, we used to have bar near beaches before the barriers. Because, of course, they've actually changed the ecology of this part. I think this year, actually, there's a couple of little students that do dive on one of these block ships. If you're not an experienced diver, who can go down onto the big ship. Here's a few more, and we have fish farms here as well. There you are, a halt there.
Lily, you're right, darling. You look like yourself, Lily.
Now we're going to have, again, approximately about 3/4 of an hour here. And we will be leaving the fossil centre at
маленький островок, который соединен с Мейнланд, вот этим вот Churchill Burial каналом, или как он называется, мостом, который построил Черчилль. Лиля! Здесь одни поля. Вот там вот это вот маленькое озеро, которое у них называется Лох. Не Лок, как я думала, а Лох. Пляжи. Другие острова. Пойдем пройдем, цветочек, цветочек. Lily, it's nice there, Lily, come on. This here, look. What can we see here, Lily? Give me a hand, please. Where's your mommy? Naughty baby. Was that horrible mama? Oh, Bob, who was it? Oh, look at this. Сено. Такие сено. А там еще даже эти мельницы есть такие же, как у нас. Мама Бумба. Лиля Бумба. Ой, какая Лиля с бантиком. Боже мой, девка с бантиком.
Oh. Have a look at the lights. They're made from bullet beef tips, like you know, where you can put your candle in. The one thing that they couldn't make was the paint to paint the chapel. So what they did for that was that they made little trinkets, you know, made cigarette boxes, and they made brooches and all sorts of things that people in the Orkney Italian that very nearly escaped. He got himself a map, he found himself a boat
итальянцы во время, как сосланные в плен, когда во время
decided he was safer to stay here. So he actually, so this boat was.
Так, вот мы приехали на это. Yeah, I'm filming you. Look at me. Look at Lily. Look at me, Lily. I can't see you like this. Fly, Lily. Lily, fly. Lily. Так, вот мы приехали к этому итальянской часовне, построенной во время Второй мировой войны. Пленниками. Я повторяю запись на 2 камерах, на случай, если у меня там что-то не получится, что-то забыть. Католическая, значит. Тут на кресте. Ну, пойдем, ладно.
Low tide, and high tide is a complete island.
Маленький островочек. Там живет один человек сверху.
A gate in the middle of the causeway there to stop the animals wandering across. now coming to the small town of Finstown. Finstown is only about over 100 years old. It used to just be a farming community here, and when they started building the main road between Stromness and Kirkwall, there was an enterprising Irishman called Finn who'd moved up to Orkney and had married an Orcadian. He saw an opportunity and he decided that this would be the perfect place to build a pub, you know, with people going between Stromness and Kirkwall, because this is sort of the centre point, you know. It's 15 miles and this is about 7 miles. So Finn approached the landlord of this area and he told him what he wanted. Something will have held it up. Anyway, Finn had the landlord built him a small pub, a house with a room that he made his special drinks, and he made a very nice toddy. Do you know what a toddy is? Yeah, toddy is whiskey and sugar and water and warmed, and you know. And he called his pub the Toddy Hole. The Toddy Hole. So it was a great success, and the people came in from all around to come to the Toddy Hole. Now the landlord saw that it was a great success, so he started sort of making things difficult for Finn. Finn had wanted a nice wall round the pub, and the landlord hadn't built it. So Finn refused to pay his rent, and the landlord refused to build the wall. And eventually the landlord said to Finn, right, you must, you know, vacate this, because you've not paid me rent. Finn tried to say, well, you haven't built my wall. Anyway, in the dead of night, some heavies came in and they removed Finn and his family from the Toddy Hole, and the door was locked against them. Someone coming to see if they can see what's happening there?
Она говорит, что очень странно, что такой трафик, что такое здесь бывает только когда происходит какая-то авария.
Sometimes happens in the summer when we have the parade going past, you know.
Еще парады какие-то у них тут бывают, проходят. Что-то необычное. Только машины. Вот их национальная музыка. Но включили, чтобы не так долго ждать.
She said it only usually up to the next thing. But we're all moving slowly.
Она говорит, она живет всю жизнь и ни разу не была в этом трафик-джем, в такой пробке, ни разу. Это первый раз в ее жизни. Что там все-таки случилось? Никто не недоумевает, не понимает. Я бы сказала, ну я же здесь. Ладно. Лилия заснула. За всю историю ее жизни, ей на лет 60. Она говорит, ни разу такого не было. Каждый день она куда-то ездит. С ума сойти. Человек, сколько машин. Обалдеть. Что случилось? Она говорит, что может быть какой-то парад, но они обычно предупреждают об этом, и люди просто знают и не едут. Тут всего ничего, людей-то живет. Но вот эта дорога, правда, самая занятая между вот этой столицей Kirkwall и вот где мы живем, Стромни. Это второй город по величине. Сейчас, видно, все еще с работы едут. Хотя, господи, боже мой, ну что там говорить, там всего-то 2000 жителей. со стариками и с детьми. Даже если кто-то работает у них в столице, ну сколько тут будет человек, ну пусть там, ну пусть сотни, пусть 2. И, наверное, не все же в одно и то же время едут. Это, конечно, это необычно совершенно. Я всегда говорю, такое случается только со мною. Нам в 14 столетии, когда у них тут была облава на ведьм, меня бы, наверное, сейчас бы к ним бы пришли.
We built the new school and then
Вон там 2 школы. Одна старая, другая новая. Они целели вновь, здесь построили новую школу вместо старой.
so keeping an eye, looking now. You can see the Pomona Inn and the Toddy Hall is the little house at the end here. You'll see a few more trees around here.